Third, let the record show that all members are present except for member Isaac. The voting sequence for this meeting is as follows: Bailey, Furnish, Hassler, Tuttle, Arbuckle, and Davis. Audience to visitors, would anyone in the audience like to address the board?
I've got some good news I'd like to share with the board. Wentz School has been nominated for the National Blue Ribbon School Award. It's one of 16 schools out of the state of Illinois to be nominated. We're working now on the application process and ought to hear this fall whether we've been awarded this.
Good.
Congratulations. Anyone else this evening? If not, the consent agenda. In your binder, you have minutes from the December 5th meeting, a list of bills, and the November treasurer's report. Any questions this evening? Those items? Not entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Bailey?
Yes.
Furnish?
Yes.
Hassler?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Harper?
Yes.
Davis is yes. Secretary's report? Superintendent's agenda?
First off, there's a couple items I'm going to pull from the agenda. One, basically, our plaque presentation. She could not be here this evening, so we won't be making a plaque presentation, and then I'll go down the rest of the agenda. I'll start off with our insurance audit and inspection. It's time again to renew our package with our consulting company that looks at all of our insurance packages, and I sent you a copy in your previous memo of all of the services that they do provide to us. We've been very pleased with them, and I would ask that the board approve the annual fee for insurance audit and inspection at this meeting.
So moved.
Any questions? If not, Bailey?
Yes.
Furnish?
Yes.
Hassler?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Arbuckle?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, next we did receive a resignation, a letter from Kathy England. Kathy England has served as a PEA at Mayo Middle School. Her resignation, she asked to take effect immediately. At this time, I would ask that the board accept the resignation of Kathy England.
So. Second.
Any discussion? If not, Bailey?
Yes.
Furnish?
Yes, with regret.
Hassler?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Arbuckle?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Next, we have an employment recommendation from Warren Perry to employ Crystal Graham to serve as a volunteer volleyball coach at Mayo Middle School for the 11-12 school year. She has passed the ASEP test and meets all the requirements for the position, so I'd ask the board to approve the employment of Crystal Graham as a volunteer volleyball coach.
So moved. I beat you.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion? If not, Bailey?
Yes.
Furnish?
Yes.
Hassler?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Arbuckle?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay. The next is a facility request. The Mayo Middle School Booster Club requests the use of the Joe Whitaker Gym and Mayo facility on March 23rd and 24th to once again host the Mike Ball 3-on-3 tournament. I'd ask the board to approve this request and waive any fees attached.
Gotta be quick.
Any discussion? If not, Bailey?
Yes.
Furnish?
Yes.
Hassler?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Arbuckle?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
We have a couple of donations this evening to approve. There's a donation to Wentz School. Mrs. Perry indicates that they received $500 from Walmart, and they would use this money to purchase books for their library. And Mr. Whitaker is asking the board to accept a $300 donation from Walmart to Memorial School, and they will pay for field trips and student programs. I'd ask the board to accept these donations to Wentz and Memorial Schools from Walmart.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, Bailey?
Yes.
Furnish?
Yes.
Hassler?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Arbuckle?
Yes.
Davis is yes.
Okay, the last item is just a policy revision for first reading, and since Amy's not here this evening, she's on a policy committee, I'm going to bring that to the board for February meeting. And under informational, the only thing, we do have the joint board workshop with Crestwood Union 4 Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock in the Harris Cooperative High School Library. And that will be to review and discuss the schools that were visited by members of both boards and administration and some of our tech people and maintenance staff to look at various newer buildings and in preparation for when and if the state does release some money for a school for Paris. So they will be reviewing the highlights of those. We will hopefully we'll have time for questions by the board, and they can discuss and ask about different things that we're seeing on these visits and things that we like and things that we felt might not be. So I think that one of the real benefits was there were several items that we think we probably don't want to do this. You know, just different types of wall coverings and just different things that when you saw from school to school, if they weren't really holding up or those kinds of things. So it was very informative, and I think it'll be an informative workshop as well. So I wanted to remind people of that. Been meeting with the APT reps, and we formed a committee with administration and APT to meet all the mandates of Senate Bill 7, which is a bill that discusses teacher evaluation, how teachers are evaluated, and how they are ripped for a reduction in force. There are certain things that we were mandated to do prior to February 1st, which is to discuss when we will implement a 4-tiered system instead of a 3, how teachers will fall into those categories, and how APT will be notified of where people fall, not by name, but just by numbers or whatever. So we've done that, filled out some preliminary paperwork. Nick's here this evening. Do you have anything?
Pretty much it.
Yeah, I think we pretty much came to agreement that right now we're meeting, we don't know enough to know what we want to do about changing categories if you do this and that, because since we haven't been there yet, haven't done this, we don't really, most districts are just staying status quo, but meeting the mandate of the law by saying they met, that they'll wait, and each year you'll have to meet again to talk about these evaluations. And I suppose if we saw that more people were falling into the lowest category or the mid, you'd want to talk about what we might need to do about that or why we think that's happening or something. But so there's a lot of in that to do. So we're going to meet again in the spring and talk about the evaluation instrument. We go from excellent, satisfactory, and unsatisfactory. We need to add needs improvement before you get to unsatisfactory. And most of these things don't come into play till 2016,
Right.
other than requiring us to meet every year and at least address the issues. So at some point, the board will probably will naturally get more involved, and you're going to be more involved in us looking at our evaluation instrument and how we're evaluating staff and what puts them in one category. Because let's say if a teacher had a 20-year teacher, say had an excellent but then an unsatisfactory or whatever, you accumulate points over your last 3. So a 5-year teacher could have 3 excellents, let's say. So it would go on basically your points that will be determined by your evaluation as to how you riff your staff, not just by seniority. So I'm sure we have a lot to work through with the unions and to discuss just how that's going to work. So that, you know, I'm glad we have a few years, or they have a few years to look at that. And they'll also be adding into the evaluation, factoring in student achievement. So that's something else we have to determine. It won't just be based on ISATs, but we have to come up with what our criteria is to show student growth. So that will also be factored into a teacher's evaluation of student growth. And we didn't come up with this, either side. So, but it is in law now, it's already there, it's just we have some time to implement. So that's my update there.
And you
I will
said
keep you posted.
2016?
2016 is when it all comes in. We have to have our evaluation, the 4 categories, by September. And we have to every year now send APT a notification of where everybody falls on this scale. So for this year, since we only have 3 categories instead of 4, an excellent would be a 4, a satisfactory would be a 3, we won't have a 2, and an unsatisfactory would be a 1. I don't anticipate right now with our budget and looking at staff needs that we will have a RIF this year of certified staff. So it really is kind of a moot point to begin with, but that's only to look at reduction in force for economic reasons. If you have a non-tenured teacher, or any teacher for that matter, that for cause, you would reduce, that stays the same.
And these evaluations will be done by staff?
They will have a committee, and that's what we're trying to determine.
Okay.
No, evaluations aren't done by the staff, but
We'll be
they
all right.
love to do that.
Well,
They don't be out there.
I'm
But with
administration. I'm sorry.
Yes, and administration.
But not the school board?
No, no. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of examples and state examples, and we have a pretty thorough evaluation tool. I know the co-op has come up with a new evaluation tool. They use the McDaniel's model, and it's pretty detailed. It's a lot of it's computerized, but we'll look at that model as well. They came up with that knowing this was coming, so they've kind of already gone through a different
Do you know,
evaluation.
does a teacher have an appeal process if they don't?
Yes, they will have.
I can just see this being
Oh,
a can of
trust
worms.
me. This is just the beginning.
Luckily, I'll be off the board.
When the first case comes out where they've done this, not by seniority and by evaluation and by, I would imagine every district's anticipating that there'll be a lot of things to work out, there'll be a lot of fine print, there'll be a lot of details that,
I can almost see a teacher going to court on it.
well, they could.
It'd be like everything else the state has done. They'll institute it,
Yeah.
find out it's not workable.
And then
they'll go away.
Well,
with
we
it.
just went from a 4-point system to a 3 because they told us we had to just have 3 categories. So we did that a few years ago, now we gotta go back to 4.
Follow each other.
So we do it, it's mandated, we're gonna do it, and hopefully it does turn out to be a good learning process and to be helpful in the evaluation itself, because that's what we can hope for, is that we do have a more effective evaluation from it. So we'll see what happens, but that's the only information I have, that's the end of the superintendent.
Okay. Do we have any committee reports this evening?
I would add, I don't know if it falls in here, the new business.
Okay. Public hearing and petitions, unfinished business, matters for follow-up, new business.
This is more of an advisory thing for this board, it's more of a co-op thing, but there's a program I've been made aware of that I want to look into on behalf of our foundation for the benefit of the school called Effingham CEO, and I think you might have gotten something on it too. It's been highly successful in certain environments where, and it's essentially piggybacking similar to like the junior achievement used to be, where it's a kind of a mentoring program where they teach entrepreneurial skills to students while in high school. They develop their own program, but there are a number of alumni from Paris High School who have gone on to do some pretty neat things, who would be more than willing to come back and speak to these students and kind of light that fire again. So I'm going to be going to Effingham to attend some of their sessions. They meet once a week at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they've been very successful with it. I've talked to them a couple of times, and I think those are the kind of things that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can piggyback and use, and they're willing to do that. But those are the kind of programs we can bring in to help those students kind of get out of the normal day-to-day stuff and get a practical application of what they're learning. Not just, it's not in a book, I'm putting it to good use. And when I find out more, I'll bring it back to, because I think it's something we need to approve as a board. So.
Right to revert to prior order of business. We have a motion for adjournment.
So,
Bailey? Furnish?
Yes.
Astley? Tuttle?
yeah.
Arbuckle? Davis is yours. We're adjourned.
Well, that's a good idea, but where's it gonna fit into the state test?
Yeah. It's right here.